Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're working on 10.3. 10.3 is polygons. So just so it's in your book and everything, but polygons are just closed geometric figures formed by three or more line segments. So a triangle, a square, and so on and so forth. And there's illustrations of what polygons are. You'll notice a square or rectangle is referred to as a quadrilateral, but we of course think of those as rectangles or squares. And we want to go ahead and look at a couple of them. So on page 100 of your workbook, okay, you can see the different types of characteristics of quadrilaterals. So quadrilaterals covers a broad range of things. Our parallelogram works very much the same as our square or rectangle, where the opposite sides are the same length. But also in this case, the opposite angles diagonally are the same. And they're not all four angles are the same. If we have a thing called a rhombus, it's basically a tilted square. Okay, so the tilted square, all four sides are the same, just like regular squares. Rectangles and squares obviously all have 90-degree angles. And then your trapezoid is made up of two parallel sides, but not all the sides, but only two of the sides are the same length. Okay, but if it's tilted, then of course, then it also that's not true. Also, we'll be working mostly with the top four. So let's go ahead and just talk about perimeter and what that means. Perimeter is just adding the sides. Okay, so to get the perimeter, just add the sides. Doesn't matter how many sides it has. Don't worry about a formula. Don't try to memorize a formula. Add the sides to get perimeter for any shape, any polygon. Okay, so if we look at example 1, okay, we have a rectangular field. So whenever you see something with a shape, I always recommend drawing it. So I have a rectangular field, all right, and has a length of 50 yards. Okay, and a width of 30 yards. And I want to go ahead and fence this in. So anytime you're going ahead and fencing anything, that's perimeter. Okay, and it tells me how much it is per foot, and I want to find the cost. Okay, and because this is a rectangular, I know the opposite sides are the same length, so I can go ahead and write that in there. And then all I have to do is add the sides. Okay, so I have 50 plus 50, that equals 100. Then I have 30 plus 30, which is 60. So I have a total of 160 yards. Okay, but now it tells me that my fencing cost is $6.50 per foot. So I have to do a little converting here. So I have to use my converting skills. I have 160 yards. Put it over 1 just like we have been. And 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. So I can get my units to cancel, which means I have a total of 480 feet. And if I multiply that by $6.50, I get a grand total of $3,120. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and skip example 2. All right, which is basically the same thing, and I'm going to go ahead and go to actually example 4. Okay, so example 4 on page 101. Okay, it says I have an equilateral triangle. Okay, an equilateral triangle just means that all sides are the same. So if I draw my equilateral triangle, it doesn't look like one, I'm sorry. And I'm giving 6 yards. That means all the sides are 6 yards. Okay, so if I go ahead and add all those up, I get 18 yards. And I make sure it has the correct units. It's very important that you go ahead and give units if they give those things to you. Okay, so make sure that you go ahead and give those units. Okay, if we go ahead and last one I'm going to do for this little section here is example 6. Okay, which is on page 102. All right, and I got a weird shape. trying to draw this as best I can. Okay, and I'm given some of the sides. So I'm given 3 feet here, 3 feet here, 6 feet here, 4 feet here, and I'm given that all these corners here are right angles. Okay, which means a couple things. I need to find the missing sides here. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could think about it and I could draw a line from here to here that would also then make a right angle. And I can go ahead and say, well, if I have a square that's 3 feet by 3 feet, this piece here must also be 3 feet. And if I look at my rectangle, then this must be true that these are right angles. And so this is 4 feet here, which would go ahead for this side, give me a total of 7 feet. Okay. Now, if I'm going ahead and looking at my rectangle here, I can think of it as, okay, I can go ahead and say, okay, well, I know if I draw a little imaginary line here, okay, the same thing is going to happen here. If this side is 3 feet, then this little piece here is going to be 3 feet, which means this piece over here is going to be 6 feet. And if I add those together, I get 9 feet. And now I can go and find perimeter by just going ahead and adding the sides. Right? I will let you do that in a calculator all by yourself, but you should end up with 32 feet when you are finished. Okay, and that's the perimeter of this angle. Right? The last section of here that we got here involves polygons angles. So but I'm going to do tessellations in a separate video, but I want to go ahead and look at the angles, some of the measures of the angles of an n-sided polygon. So for any polygon, any one, okay, with n sides. All right. I have a formula that says if I take my number of sides, subtract 2, and I multiply that by 180 degrees, that'll give me the sum of all my measures. Okay. So if we want to go ahead and look at example 8, okay, which is a picture, all right, I have this shape here. All right, and I know this is angle A and this is angle B. I'm told that this is 70 and this angle here is 150. Okay, and I want to find the sum of the measures of all the angles. Okay, so if I go ahead, I also are given this information here. All right, and how many sides do I have here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So 5 minus 2 times 180, okay, gives me 540 degrees. Okay, now it tells me for part B to find the measures of angle A and angle B. All right, well, angle A is inside of this. Okay, so angle A is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I know I have two 90-degree angles. I have a 70-degree angle, and I have a 150-degree angle. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, add these together, and subtract this from 540, because that is the sum of all my angles. So 540 minus all of this stuff gives me that A is equal to 140 degrees. Now we have to assume that angle A plus angle B, right, should give me 180 by our rules. Okay, so if I go ahead and subtract angle A from 180, which is 140, I end up with B is equal to 40 degrees. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop here for this one. Go ahead and fill in the blanks and try all the other ones that I did not do for this section. And as usual, if you have any questions, please go ahead and reach out to me. And I'll check back with you to finish out 10.3.